Alrighty, so let's do a quick news of the week video before we get into another double header action in terms of MLS team involving in the CONCACAF Champions League. And let's hope later tonight we'll see both TFC and Philly join the Timbers and Atlanta United as the next two teams that move on into the quarterfinal of the CONCACAF Champions League in MLS. But first, as I mentioned, we're going to do a quick news of the week video, and there wasn't really a lot of news that happened in the past couple of days, and that's not really a big surprise considering the fact that we are now heading into the first weekend of MLS action, and most of those news are kind of hype up news around what this new season is going to look like, and not really news that I usually talk about in the news of the week involving some of the signings and transfer rumors that happened in the past week. But one big news that was announced just a couple of days ago was that CONCACAF has announced that the Gold Cup final will be held at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. And, this is probably a no-brainer considering the fact that ever since they built that new stadium for the Raiders, that is Allegiant Stadium near the Strip, this was pretty obvious that that stadium is going to house some big time events. And that, last year there was even a report saying that El Clasico could actually happen again in the US, and that they were going to play El Clasico at Allegiant Stadium, that is part of the International Champions Cup. Obviously, that did not happen because the pandemic pretty much canceled the International Champions Cup. But now it seemed like that stadium is going to get their first big soccer event in this Gold Cup final. And since this game is going to be taking place in August 1st, hopefully by then, Vegas will be at least close to being fully open. I mean, I know Vegas right now is kind of partially open, and we started to see some tourists start to go back to Vegas, and a lot of those entertainment has started to open up again. And as we head into these next couple of months, and how with the cases continue to kind of drop down, and also people continue to vaccinate, hopefully by then Vegas will be close to be reopened. Or if you want to be very optimistic, they will be reopened by the time the summer came, and we might have a full capacity crowd at this Gold Cup final that's going to be taking place at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. Now, moving on, in terms of the next news, is that Bobby Wood, he is actually going to join RSL sooner than what we thought he would. So originally, it's looked like he probably would join RSL right around June after his season. His season with Hamburg was going to be over, but now it seemed like he basically decided that he wants to leave Hamburg earlier, and Hamburg basically announced to terminate his contract earlier, and now he's going to be joining RSL for the team season opener against Minnesota United. So I think if you're RSL, that might be good news, knowing the fact that this was probably one of your bigger signing that they made this off season. But that being said, for this upcoming season, I'm going to be very interested to see how Bobby would do in MLS, and that, for the past couple of years, it's been rough for him with the way that a couple of years ago he was regarded as one of the best striker in this U.S. men's national team. It looked like he was going to be the heir of Clint Dempsey, and then because of injuries and him not being in a very good form, he has really took a nosedive of all the hype and all the talent that he has for the past for a couple years ago with the national team. But let's see if he can rediscover that good form that he had a couple years ago with RSL, and maybe really be the goal scorer that this RSL team desperately need heading into this season. Speaking of forward, NYCFC have signed Brazilian forward Thiago Andrade from EC Bahia. I think that's how you pronounce. And for once, NYCFC actually decided to sign an attacking player. Now, obviously, he is not a number 9 player. Even though when you first look at it, it seems like he is going to be a striker that's going to be added into this very thin NYCFC number 9 depth chart. But he's more of kind of a winger for this team. But either way, for once, NYCFC have actually did something that they desperately need this offseason, which is they desperately need some attacking depth. Now, whether or not, if this is going to be enough for me to consider that they could be getting themselves back to the level that they were a couple of years ago, or for the past couple of seasons, no. I think they still need more this summer. They still need to add some more attacking pieces, and also eventually find a replacement of Maxi Morales, because we know for sure that he's probably not going to stay healthy throughout the entire part of the season, and maybe this could potentially be his last year with all the injury concern and how he's getting also up to age on that point. Now for FC Cincinnati, they signed veteran left back Edgar Castillo, and I think this is the replacement for Said Abdul Salam that they decided to release this offseason. I'm kind of surprised that they decided to let go of Said Abdul Salam, because yes, he didn't really get a lot of minutes with Cincinnati, but I thought he was a good decent utility player for them, and that they decided to still let him go in this case, and also sign a guy that is Edgar Castillo, that has really started to become a journeyman in MLS. I mean, I remember when he used to be a decent player for the Rapids, but then once his career kind of really didn't turn out to be the one that we hope he would in his earlier years. He's kind of bounced around between many teams, and now FC Cincinnati is the latest team that he is going to be joining after Atlanta United decided to not sign him to a new contract this offseason. Speaking of Atlanta United, they have officially signed Alan Franco from Independiente, and they actually signed him as a designated player. Now, obviously, I said before, where when you decide to sign a center back, or you decided to sign a goalkeeper on a designated player contract, that is definitely a cardinal sin that you commit, because usually teams, the reason why they don't sign defender into DP contract is because you're going to, a lot of these teams, they want to sign some of their best player on the attack, and we've seen so many times when teams trying to sign defenders in DP contract, it does not work out whatsoever. Now, whether or not if this is going to be the case, we shall see how it goes. And Alan Franco, from what I heard, he is definitely a very decent defender coming down from South America, and that for Atlanta heading into this season, I don't think defense was one of the thing that they really need to upgrade, because I thought they already have a really decent defense. And even though last season of how bad they were last year and finished near the bottom of the Eastern Conference, defense was not the biggest issue for this team. The biggest issue for this team is on the attacking end. So the fact that they of course had to use their DP to basically sign a defender on that, yeah, it's gonna be unless if he's actually really decent, then I think this would be worth the price. But it's kind of surprised the fact that Atlanta, with all the DPs that they've been signing in the past, usually they go with an attacking kind of DP, and now all of a sudden they decide to kind of sign a defender like that. Now, speaking of DP, so Inter Miami, I talked about how they're having a big issue right now where they currently have 4 DP in their roster, and they need to get it down to three designated player. Now originally I was thinking that maybe eventually they are going to find a way to buy down Mateus Pellegrini contract to a TAM contract where they can now only have 3 DP. Well, unfortunately, that seems like it's not going to be the case. It seemed like now Inter Miami maybe is having trouble trying to buy down Pellegrini's contract, and now it seems like they're now have to force to sell him, and that they're actually looking to try to trade him within MLS. And the reason why I haven't heard a lot of team that has been interested in Pellegrini is the price that a team will have to pay for him, and the contract that they have to give him, and especially with how bad he was in his first season, where I think he only scored like 1 goal and 1 assist to this team, and he's on this gigantic contract with this team. It's no surprise that not a lot of teams would want to take the chance to try to sign him for a big amount of money and take that big contract, and not knowing the fact that is he going to whether or not have a bounce back year compared to when he first come to MLS in his first year with Inter Miami. But either way, this is going to be a very interesting situation, in that for Inter Miami, they're going to have to figure this out, because unless if the league decided to give them the benefit of the doubt, or maybe give David Beckham the benefit of the doubt, and maybe Inter Miami will find a loophole like what the Galaxy did with Christian Pavone a couple of years ago, to get down to just 3 DP, despite the fact that they technically have like 4 designated player on their team. Inter Miami is going to have to solve this issue with this DP situation that they of course are in. Now, moving on in terms of next news, and now talking about injuries. Well, Kevin Molino, he is now going to be out for 6 to 8 weeks because of a hamstring injury. And I hate to say this, but this is actually great news for Minnesota. And I think Adrian Heath, when he saw this, he basically just proved everyone that he is an absolute genius. The fact that he decided to not re-sign Kevin Molino for this upcoming season. And again, I hate to say this because I don't want a team or a manager in this case to prove to be a genius just because a player that got injured, but we knew this was going to happen. We knew that what happened with Kevin Molino, as good as he was last season, especially in the playoffs, we knew that was just a mirage, and that there is just no way the fact that he was going to stay healthy for the entire part of the season. And it seems like right now, the only surprising thing I would say is that it didn't actually take that long for Kevin Molino eventually suffer either a hamstring injury that was going to keep him for a while now. But again, this is where I go back to what I said about Minnesota and Adrian Heath, where if they actually kept Molino and they were actually thinking about giving him a DP contract, this would have been a very bad contract and a very bad decision with the way that he's now going to be not available for this team. But again, I still wish Kevin Molino a speedy recovery, and that if you're Columbus, the good news is Kevin Molino isn't really a guy that you are going to think that he's going to be a regular starter. The bad news is he was supposed to be the replacement for guys like Pedro Santos and Luis Diaz, and that if those guys went down, then that could be a little bit of an issue. And that I know Columbus is a very deep team, but even in that winger position, after Molino, there is definitely some question of who can potentially be another guy that can step in to replace some of the starters that the crew might be losing this season. Now, speaking of injuries to star player, Nicolo, it is reported that he will be out for the season opener with a minor injury. They didn't exactly say what exactly the minor injury is, but they did say that he is going to be now for sure out for the season opener against Minnesota on Friday. Now, there was also some reports saying that he could actually be out for 3 to 4 weeks, although the Sounders basically they said that he's only going to be out for the season opener, and then it's kind of like a day-to-day evaluation to see when he can be back to this team. But either way, I think this is definitely going to be a big blow for the Sounders heading into this season. And we knew that the Sounders was going to be very short-handed heading into this season with the way that they lost a lot of big name player, and also are not going to have Jordan Morris for the rest of the season. But now losing Ladero for at least maybe for the first game of the season, they really are going to have to heavily rely on Rui Diaz and hope that he is going to be the guy that is going to take the matter into his own hands and carry this Sounders attack. But now moving on, in terms of next news and the final news of this news of the week, is that the Colorado Rapids have announced that they will have 7,897 fans for their home opener at Dick's Sporting Goods Park. I think that's around, like 33% that they have in terms of capacity. So yeah, it's great to see another team that is definitely allowing fans and allowing a lot of fans in the stadium, because when I look at the number of percent capacity that each of the MLS team basically allow, some teams only allow like 20% capacity, some even allow as low as 10% capacity, while some allow like around 50% capacity. But for the Rapids, it seemed like they decided to go with 33% capacity, and hopefully maybe the Rapids, with them having more fans in the stadium for this game, hopefully they're not going to have a bigger issue in terms of dealing with selling tickets to their season ticket member. I mean, I'm looking at you, Minnesota and Seattle, with the way that they had a lot of trouble in terms of selling ticket to their season ticket holder, and that their season ticket holder had an absolute nightmare in terms of trying to get the tickets because the system was just so overwhelmed. Well, it was also the system was so overwhelmed, but also a combination of the way that the team were not really prepared in terms of the fact that, yeah, there's probably going to be a big big high demand for those season opener, because we have so many season ticket holder that is vying for a limited spot, and we didn't think this through, and now it seems like it's an absolute mess where it seemed like nobody can get the tickets because the ticketing portal is having a lot of trouble for those teams. But either way, there you have it. That is pretty much it for the news of the week episode for this week. Again, this is one of the quicker video because there hasn't been a lot of news that has happened in the past couple of days. But let me know in the comments below if there's any news that I didn't mention here on the board that you want me to talk about in the comments below. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.